All right, so we're going to talk about factoring by grouping. So when factoring by grouping is a method we use when a polynomial has four terms. So what happens is we're going to separate these four terms into two terms per group and then make sure each group has a common factor. Okay? So let's talk about how we group them. So we're going to group terms into two groups of two so that each group has a common factor. And then we're going to take out the common factor and we're going to factor out the common binomial. So with this, let's see, we got the problem up there of 6x to the third plus 3x squared plus 4x plus 2. So let's break it into two groups, I'm sorry. So we've got it in two groups there. We've got our 6x cubed plus 3x squared, put in parentheses for our first group, plus our second group of 4x plus 2. Now we need to take out the common factors. In other words, we need to factor out the common from each one of those polynomials. So in this first one, as you can see here, we could take out a 3x squared. Because if you multiplied 3x squared times 2x, if you're going to do that, you would get 6x cubed. And then if you're going to take 3x squared times 1, you would get 3x squared. And then you could factor out a 2 out of the second polynomial, because 2 times 2x would give you 4x. And then 2 times 1 would give you 2. So now we need to factor out the common binomials. So the common factors that we factored out of the first ones, we need to put together. So in this case, we're able to take our 3x squared, and we'll take our 2, and then we're able to multiply it times our common factor of 2x plus 1, okay? Our common binomial, sorry, of 2x plus 1. And that is our answer. All right, so let's look at another example. So with this one, we're going to take 6x cubed plus 4x squared plus 12x plus 8, and we're going to break this into two groups so that each group has a common factor. So again, we're going to take this and we're going to take the 6x cubed plus 4x squared plus 12x plus 8. We put in our two groups there, okay? Then we need to take out the common factor. So what we could take out of that first setup there? Well, we have the lowest x value we have is a squared, so we can take x squared out of there, and then looks like the number 2 should be able to come out of both those. And then on the back side there, we can definitely take a 4 out of both of those. So in other words, what I'm talking about is we can take 2x squared times 3x, that gives you 6x cubed, and then 2x squared times 2 gives you 4x squared. The same thing over here, 4 times 3x gives you 12x, and 4 times 2 gives you 8. Okay? So now we need to factor out the common binomial. So the common binomial we have there is our 3x plus 2. We have 3x plus 2 on both of these. So since we have both of those are the same, we can factor that out and combine the 2x squared plus 4. And if we do that, then it gives us our 2x squared plus 4 times 3x plus 2. So again, we took 2x plus 2, our 2x squared, and then our plus 4, and then we took our common binomial here, the purples, and we put it into 1 right there, okay? So therefore, it makes a simple way of factoring by grouping. So look at another one. So practice-wise on this one, right? We can take this one, and we need to put it into groups. So let's do that. So we put our 14x cubed plus 12x squared, and I have 21x plus 18. Now, what can we factor out of the first one? Well, on the first one there, we can factor out a 2x squared, and on the second one, we can factor out a 3. And as you can see here, it gives us our 2x squared times 7x gives us 14x cubed, and a 2x squared times 6 gives us 12x squared. And we can factor a 3 out of both of these because 3 times 7 gives us 21, and then we have an x, and then 3 times 6 gives us 18. So now we just need to factor out that common binomial, right? So the binomial we get there is going to be 2x squared plus 3 times 7x plus 6. So again, we simply took 2x squared plus 3, made our first binomial, and then our common binomial of 7x plus 6, and we brought that right there. All right, so we'll do another exercise here, another example. So now we're going to take 10x squared plus 2xy plus 5xz plus yz. All right, so let's see what we can do here. First off, we need to put it into two groups. So we're going to take our 10x squared plus 2xy, and then we're going to take plus 5xz plus yz. Now, what can we factor out of this first one that's common for both those numbers in the binomial? Well, for sure, we can take a 2 out, because 2 will go into 10 and into 2. And we can also take an x out for sure, because we have an x squared on our 10, and we have an x on our 2. And then we have on the second one, what can we take out? On the second binomial here, our 5xz plus yz, well, we definitely could take out a z, it looks like. Z is the only common factor we could take out. So let's see what that gives us. So we get 2x times 5x plus y, because again, our 2x times 5x gives you 10x squared, and our 2x times a y gives you 2xy. Now, as we talked about on our z, for this we could factor out for the second binomial, we could take a z times 5x will give us 5xz, and a z times y will give us yz. So now we just need to factor out that common binomial and combine the two things that we factored out initially. So that should give us 2xz plus 5x plus y. All right, let's do one more example here. All right, so again, if we have x squared minus 2xy plus 5x minus 10y, well, then all we need to do now is go ahead and break it into two groups. So we're going to take, first off, we'll start with our x squared minus our 2xy, our first group, and then let's add it to our second group of 5x minus 10y. Now, what can we factor out of this first one? Now, this first one, we can factor an x for sure. An x is in both of them, and it looks like the only value that's in both of them. So if we took an x out of there, x times what gives you x squared? X times x. Okay, then x times what gives you a negative 2xy. Well, for sure, we need a negative 2, and that would give us a negative 2x, but we still need a y there. Okay, so now, what can we take out of the second one? We have 5x minus 10y. Well, they got two different variables as far as x and a y, so we can't take one of those out, but we could take a 5 out. So let's take a positive 5, so plus 5, and then 5 times x will give us 5x. And then 5 times a negative 2 would give us negative 10. But then we just need a y on there. So we need to have minus 2y. And as you can see here, both of these, again, got to be the same. So now we can just factor these guys out to get our answer. Again, we can take the x plus 5. And then our common binomial is x minus 2y. And that is our answer. Okay? All right, guys, so hopefully that helps explain a little bit of the factoring by grouping. I'll see you next time.